So we are tracking the latest results pouring in from key primary races nationwide. In Georgia's governor race, incumbent Brian Kemp beat Trump-backed challenger, former Senator David Perdue. He's projected to face Stacy Abrams once again in the general election. Former football star Herschel Walker won the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate. His win sets the stage for a hotly contested race in November against Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock. CBS News chief White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe has been covering all of this for us from Atlanta. Ed, good morning.
Anne-Marie, good to see you on what is a rough morning otherwise. There were 5 contests last night, the biggest and the most consequential arguably here in Georgia. In his acceptance speech last night, the Republican Governor Brian Kemp made no mention of the former president, instead focusing on his economic record, his decision to reopen the state earlier than most during the pandemic, and on his Democratic opponent, Stacy Abrams. It will be a rematch for the two of them this fall. Abrams told me yesterday that she had told Georgians 4 years ago electing Brian Kemp was a mistake. She'll do that again this year and try to win again. We'll see. Meanwhile, Republican former football star Herschel Walker now faces Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock in a race that could eventually cost tens of millions of dollars, as it's one of the few competitive races that could determine who controls the Senate next year. And that Georgia elections official who most prominently stood up to former President Trump and said he wouldn't change the results of Georgia's 2020 elections, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, prevailed over a crowded field exceeding the 50% threshold to avoid a runoff election. He'll head to a general election this fall, likely going to hold on to his job. Now, down in Texas, the State Attorney General Ken Paxton fended off a challenge from George P. Bush, who's currently the Texas Land Commissioner. He is the grandson and nephew of the former President Bush, and with his loss, the Bush dynasty, political dynasty at least, may be over, at least for now. Paxton was one of the few candidates speaking out last night about the Texas shooting, given that he is the top law enforcement official in the Lone Star State, saying in an interview that teachers should consider being armed as a solution to school shootings. And keep an eye later this week, Anne-Marie, on Friday in Houston, about 300 miles from this shooting site, when the National Rifle Association is already scheduled to hold one of its big meetings. Among those scheduled to appear, Governor Abbott, Senator Ted Cruz, and former President Trump.
What timing, Ed. Thank you very much.